Okay, here we are at Old Bahama Bay in West End in Grand Bahama Island. We just spent most of the morning and into the afternoon now in the company of Keith Cooper here at the West End Ecology Tours. We went out and did some snorkeling and hand feeding live wild stingrays, which was an experience, really an experience and a half, and one I'm going to recommend to everybody for the rest of my life. Trust me. Anyway, Keith Cooper here is, I'm going to refer to you as an ambassador. You're an ambassador of West End, of your business, of the Ecology Tours. And really, I think if I'm going to label you, I'm going to call you an ambassador of all the stingrays in the Bahamas. Well, would that work for you?
No?
You're
right. You call me the Stingray Whisperer.
The Stingray Whisperer, sure.
On social media.
There you go.
So I have to go by the correct title.
You're right. Okay. Yeah.
I get it. So, but the ambassador part is if I'm just a generic fellow.
Right.
But because I work in the marine environment, it's better to be the Stingray Whisperer ambassador.
Okay. Hey, yes. There you go. Yes. And you train other people to work with stingrays.
I train them?
You want to. You train us.
I did.
Yeah. Yes. That's part of the package.
The whole idea is to get people to understand how cool some of our marine animals are in the Bahamas. And because these animals are very unique, and most of the time visitors coming to the country don't get to interact in that kind of personal sort of way, I decided that I would take one creature from out of the ocean and make it a mainstay type of attraction and tourism experience. And because everybody is into the sharks or they do turtles or some other creature, the stingray tends to get lost in the mix. But since I've been with them, they've become so close to me. The bonding is so unique. I couldn't help but just keep them as my focus. And then the shark part of it is just basically an add-on to the whole experience because sharks and rays do kind of coexist.
And they hang around.
And they hang around each other like you saw today.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and I gotta say, it is so cool. There are a bunch of lemon sharks and a bunch of stingrays, and you hand feed them, and you go swimming with them, and get to pet them, and we all lined up and kissed them.
Oh, it was the best day ever.
It was pretty cool. So, okay, why should someone from say Germany or Venezuela or Japan or Louisiana or Alaska? Why should they come to West End? Why should they come to Grand Bahama? Why should they come to see you and go out and do the stingray thing with the West End Ecology Tours?
Well, besides blowing my own horn, I don't want to do that. What I'd really like to do is just say that if anybody's traveling to an island destination looking for something unique to do, something that's off the beaten path, that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, this would be the place to come and do it because there's no other place in the world, much less the Bahamas, that does this kind of tour the way that I do it. So if there's a reason, that would be one of them.
Well, yeah, it's a pretty big one too.
Yeah,
it's a pretty big one. So definitely worth it. How about if we get the reaction of someone who went to this tour and thought it was a pretty good idea?
It was amazing. I had a stingray suck on my finger, and then I got to kiss it, and then I got to feed it. It was amazing. Amazing. The best day ever. I'm going to come every year, and I'm going to tell everyone. I'm going to dream of stingrays. It was the best. You must do it. You must.
You must do it.
No.
Okay.
It's a must.
So Keith, I'm handling the camera here. I just wanted to ask you a quick question.
Sure.
Why did this become your passion? Like, how did you latch onto this and decide that this was something that you really wanted to pursue?
That's a good question. People always ask me, well, how did you get involved with these stingrays? It wasn't so much how I got involved with them. Excuse me. It's how they got involved with me. And what I mean by that is, excuse me, one day I was going out fishing with some folks, and I happened to go over to Sandy Key to clean up the bait from the fishing trip. And when I threw all of the excess bait overboard, the next thing I knew, there were 20-odd stingrays behind the boat. That began this inquisitive nature that I have to find out more about them. And from there, it became a real labor of love, so to speak. I went back, and I was so intrigued by so many were around the boat that I had to look it up. Excuse me, and to ask myself, what was a stingray? Well, thank God to my friends at Google, I was able to find out really what a stingray was about. And then I took that knowledge, and then I said, well, let me see if I could get in the water with them. But around the time I started doing this, Steve Irwin had passed away from from a stingray that killed him in Australia. I took it as a sign that I might have something here. So because I did my homework and I spent at least 4 years getting to know the stingrays, it gave me a lot more knowledge than I ever could have ever wanted to learn on my own or from someone else. And I used my own instincts and I used my own basic common sense to study the animal enough so that I could basically get comfortable with it on my own before I would introduce them to other people. And it just became that kind of systematic way that I got into it, and it became what it is. And I'm really grateful for that.
I'm grateful for it too.
So you form relationships with these stingrays, and
Well,
you've named some of them because you've built this long-term relationship with them. How did that come about? Like how?
well, when I first started to meet the stingrays and started to form the bond, it was basically built on looking at several characteristics of the stingray. One, the size. Two, the colors. And three, the markings that were on each of the stingrays. So I used that kind of common sense analysis to determine what these animals were like. And then the fourth factor was watching them and their behavior, how they would move in the water. And then taking my energy and getting in the water with them took a little bit of practice because I started snorkeling with them first before I started kneeling down with them or giving them something to taste. Not so much feeding, but like, how could I draw them closer to me without getting hurt? And subsequently, I found out that the stingrays don't arbitrarily throw their stingers, which gave me even more confidence. And that was a lot of people were nervous about that. So I took away that fear on my own to myself. And then I used that to try to help others understand that they're not aggressive. They're not going to arbitrarily attack you. And that they're really very gentle and very sweet animals when you really think about it. They're not trying to hurt you. They're just looking for something to eat. And so I mixed all of that up into my mind and I said, no, I can create a tour business behind this. And that was how I gradually got into the tourism part of it.
They're very mysterious animals, and you've tried to sort of lift the veil of mystery from that so they're not so scary then, right?
That's correct. And that was really part of the reason behind Steve Irwin's death, that I got into it from that solving taking away the mystery about the animal's behavior. No one really had studied stingrays like the way I have done without having a degree in marine biology and using just my own basic instincts, common sense. I decided that, I would make this a craft and make this my whole future. And it has become more than what I thought it would ever be. And things just took off. I wasn't trying to do this to be famous. I wasn't trying to be recognized for it. It just happened. And you never know. It just became what it is, and I'm very grateful.
So what is your goal with this, Keith? Like, what are you trying to teach people? What are you trying to draw attention to with West End Ecology Tours?
Well, the one thing that I want to do and taking it to the next level is to bring young people in marine biology who study marine biology, getting degrees in it, to come in and be a part of what I'm doing, so that I can bring another generation and lift up and elevate the kind of stingray whisperer experience that I have created with a marine biology student who has now a sustainable and permanent job. Because stingrays are always going to be around. The ocean will hopefully always be around. And now these young people who are here in the Bahamas, or anywhere in the world for that matter, that wants to come to the Bahamas and learn how to interact safely with these animals and introduce them to tourists, this would be a perfect way for me to leave a legacy of what I started with the next generation of marine biology students and things like that.
Okay, thanks, Keith. Keith Cooper, West End Ecology Tours. Can't recommend it high enough. Just do it.